Let me get to the good doctor, Dr. Katherine Pannel, Medical Director of Right Track Medical Group. Good morning, ma'am. How are you? It's good to have you. Thank you for joining us on this Friday.
Always glad to be here.
Man,
Thank you.
A big day yesterday, wasn't it? And this thing has been going on. I think we've been talking about this for 2 or 3 years as far as the fentanyl strips. Your thoughts, and where are we now with this? It's ready to go to the governor's desk?
We're in a really good position.
Yeah.
The House bill just passed off the Senate floor and is headed to Governor Reeves.
Have you heard anything about that one? I mean, he's not opposed to this, is it? And have you ever any feedback from him?
I have not heard any feedback that he is opposed to it, but with such overwhelming support in both the House and the Senate,
Yeah.
I feel like it's at this point a no-brainer and should happen.
Okay, so for folks who are coming into this, Dr. Pannel, explain a little bit about what this means now, where they will be available, how they can be used from your expertise on this.
Well, I mean, they've been accessible. They're easily accessible. I mean, you can even go on Amazon and get the test strips and order them. The problem with it is that they were illegal. So if you were found with these fentanyl test strips, you were going to go to jail. Essentially, you'd have jail time. But now that they are hopefully going to become decriminalized, you can continue to get them on Amazon or other places. But what this does now is it allows Mississippi to get federal funding for these test strips. So they'll be free to the public. And that they'll be found in community-based health centers like health departments and other health systems. So people can actually go and access them, learn how to use them properly, and while they're there, get other resources for substance abuse treatment.
Do you know of anybody who actually has been convicted of this and spent time in jail for this?
No, I don't personally, but I think that there is that fear that could happen.
There was also the fear that this might exacerbate the problem. Are you confident that it will not?
I'm very confident. I mean, fentanyl test strips have been around for a while. Other states have decriminalized them, and there's not one study that shows that this has increased our problem of addiction or enables people, but there is proof that they have saved lives.
I'm feeling my way through this one because I have no earthly idea what the strips look like and have not used them, of course. And I guess I'm trying to relate to the people who are in my position, either as a parent or a grandparent, to advise the younger generation, or maybe if they're in that situation themselves. How do you use them? Do you just dip it in a drink, or how do you use them?
So the current fentanyl test strips that we have right now, so say that you wanted to check a pill, you would take a small portion off that pill and dissolve it in a little bit of water and then stick the test strip in there, and it would essentially turn the color of positive or not. But what the good thing is about this legislation, 722, it is broad enough in that it talks about all substances that can check for fentanyl. So there are some wipes that are coming out that you should be able to just swipe across a pill that makes it a little bit easier to check for. And this would decriminalize that as well. We would be able to access those.
So if it looks like a regular pill, an Oxycontin pill, or an Oxycontin pill, or one of those pills, you can just swipe it and it will tell you if there's any fentanyl inclusive in there. Is it a minimum amount that it picks up?
They're very sensitive. It does not take much for it to pick up because it is so powerful, and they're over 96% accurate. So you're getting a pretty good answer whether or not the substance you're about to use has fentanyl in it or not.
Just wondering, as far as the wipes are concerned, do we know when they're going to be on the market?
I don't. I know there's someone about to be done manufacturing them somewhere in Florida, and hopefully, I know a lot of the sheriff's departments and police in Mississippi are looking at those and are very excited about them, just because they're a lot easier to use than the strips. You don't have to put the piece of pill in a cup and drop water. These are literally, you just wipe and go.
I'm just thinking here, wouldn't it be something if somebody tested some of those that they got at a pharmacy somewhere and all of a sudden they tested that way? That would be a story that you wouldn't want to have broadcast on the air.
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
That would lose confidence tremendously now that those strips are out there. But how much do they cost?
They're less than $1, but now that these will hopefully be decriminalized, we can get them free because of the federal funding. And I think another thing that's really good about having fentanyl test strips as an option too is if you test and your pill is positive for fentanyl, those that are in your group that are unfortunately using too, you're going to spread the word that, hey, this guy
Yes.
gave me a bad batch, don't use him. And you're essentially putting out, drug dealers out of business. So we're decreasing the supply of fentanyl in our state that way as well.
You look at just some of the last week, some of the captures they've made down on the coast, down on the border. Is just absolutely incredible. It's pouring across.
It's awful.
And intentionally, too. As a matter of fact, we've even had some of the congressmen during the hearings say that this is their goal, to get as many people addicted as possible, as far as the people in Mexico, coming through China. So. Mm-hmm.
And
amazing.
Even if the federal government does decide to do something about that, I mean, that's going to take so much time. So that's why it was so prudent and so important that we go ahead and get this legislation passed now so that we can start saving lives.
Yeah. The president's being hit by that comment he made from the mother, and I watched her yesterday she was on Fox News. Boy, she lost two kids, two young boys, her two sons on this. And he just, his only retort was that, come on, the pills could have come through the last administration. And my thoughts were, the objective that she's trying to say is, this is killing kids regardless of when it came through. If it did then or now, it really doesn't matter, because you can have people die today across America from this. Doesn't matter what date they cross the border. But it was quite insensitive, and he's catching hell for that one, and rightfully so. Let's talk about the other thing that happened, because I think we put on Schedule 1 tianeptine also in the legislative process yesterday.
Well, so House Bill 4 did have tianeptine, to ban tianeptine and make it Schedule 1, but there was some uneasiness about the fact that you would serve jail time if you were caught with tianeptine. So it was amended in Judd B in the Senate side to make it Schedule 2, and then came out of committee and got passed off the Senate floor yesterday. So hopefully it'll go back to the House for concurrence and then on to the governor as well.
So it takes the consequences out, or any criminality of it? What does it change?
Right. It does take the criminal portion out. It puts it Schedule 2, where basically I mean, you could technically prescribe it, but nobody's going to prescribe it because it has no medicinal value in the United States. But the important part of it is it still gets it off the shelves in our convenience stores, and it just doesn't make it available to the general public. You would have to get it by prescription, which no one with any medical knowledge would prescribe.
In your scope of practice, you've seen this grow every year to year, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And we're not getting. We thought back in the days of methamphetamine, we'd put, what was it, Sudafed behind the counter, and it seemed like we were making some inroads, and all of a sudden, boom, all of this other stuff broke out in names and nicknames that we've never heard before. So how do you gauge this? Where are we going? First of all, we got to close the border. You've got to do a better job there, but where do you think we're going with this as far as the next generation?
When we really cracked down on we're still in the opioid epidemic, but early on when we cracked down on prescribing habits and opiates less of it, led to, having to find other things and other ways to use. And that's why we're seeing things like tianeptine and kratom pop up. And even if we ban those, you're probably going to see something else pop up. We've got to figure out a way how we can, stop this in the beginning so that these substances can be looked at before they're even on the shelves, because then we start having to put the toothpaste back in the tube when on the shelves, and we realize how bad these things are. We've got to have some kind of screening process early on to even keep them from showing up on shelves. And how you do that, I don't know. There was some legislation early on that would give the health department some way to do that, but it died.
Isn't it also a little bit like the volcano under Yellowstone? At any moment it could erupt, and we don't know what's going to happen, because with medical marijuana, we don't know if this is going to make it better or worse. It's just bubbling, and we'll have to contend with it when it happens.
Psychiatrist makes me very nervous.
And good reason to be so. Always good seeing you, ma'am. Thank you so very much.
You as
Appreciate
well.
it.
Thank you.
You got it. Dr. Katherine Pannel is Medical Director of Right Track Medical Group.